We're only 1 week into the NFL season, but there's already talk about some NFL coaches on the hot seat. Typically, coaches get fired after a second or third bad year, but right now, the one that's getting the most heat is a brand new head coach. Nathaniel Hackett, who opted for a long shot 64-yard field goal over giving it to Russell Wilson on 4th and 5. On top of that, he also royally screwed up his timeouts. It was a decision that has been more or less universally agreed upon to be a massive mistake. Last year, NFL offenses converted on 4th and 5 at a near 50% clip, while only 2 field goals in history have been kicked and made by at least 64 yards away. If the team were playing in Denver with the mile-high air, then maybe there'd be an argument, but they weren't. So instead, Hackett looked in over his head. On top of this blunder for the ages, Hackett's new offense featuring Russell Wilson totaled 16 points while getting outscored by Geno Smith. To be fair, they did move the ball well, but the turnovers were too costly. Normally, one bad game for a fresh hire is enough for me to call hot seat talk a bunch of nonsense, but in this case, Hackett embarrassed himself on a big stage, and his hiring gets extra murky when you consider the fact that the current Broncos ownership group didn't even hire him. In such a tough division, things could go downhill fast. It was a bad first impression for Hackett, and his seat is suddenly feeling just a bit toasty. Mike McCarthy was already going to be on the hot seat this year for anything other than a deep playoff run, but with Dak Prescott's injury and an emerging NFC East, this season could be a tough one for Dallas. And even before the injury, the Cowboys' offense was failing to generate much production anyway. It was looking pretty ugly out there. Dak was just 14 of 29 with 134 yards and 1 interception. The team went 3 for 15 on third down, and it really never felt like they had a chance of winning. To make matters worse, they showed no signs of improvement in discipline, having more penalties than points. When you look back at their last 2 games, the opener and the playoff loss, they've tallied 24 penalties and scored just 20 points. They also led the league in penalties last year. Doesn't matter how much football you know, anyone could tell you that's a sign of bad coaching. Micah Parsons was the one bright spot. I had him as my pick for Defensive Player of the Year, but in the end this game looked like a disaster before Dak's injury, and that should tell you enough about how McCarthy has begun the year. Jerry Jones has a history with Sean Payton, and it's felt for a while that McCarthy is just a lame duck coach as Jones waits for Payton's Saints contract to expire. The question is, will Jones be able to watch any more seasons of the McCarthy Cowboys as he waits for 2025, I think? Or could he make a trade for Payton earlier? Or it's entirely possible for McCarthy to get fired mid-season, then promote Dan Quinn or Kellen Moore to head coach. I actually thought that the Panthers were going to beat the Browns in week 1, and to be fair, they were on the wrong side of some very bad calls, but the game plan for this game was highly questionable. In the first half, Christian McCaffrey got just 5 touches, which then in return kept the defense on the field for too long. I was just thinking, well, not giving the ball to your best player sure is an interesting strategy. After the game, offensive coordinator Ben McAdoo was like, "We got to get the ball to Christian Moore." And everyone else is sitting there like, that's your job, buddy. There's no worse feeling for a fan than a week 1 defeat where it looks like your team had 0 preparation, when in fact they technically had months to prepare for this game. And it gets even worse when the Browns didn't even play up to par. A good team probably would have blown the gates open on the Panthers in the first half. When they finally abandoned the game plan, they actually looked like they had some potential. Either way, that loss makes this an 8-game losing streak for the Matt Rule Panthers, which is the longest in the league if you were wondering. Rule was already on possibly the hottest seat in the league before the year, and as he continues to show his shortcomings at the NFL level, I just think there's no way he can survive past this year. Panthers fans are fed up and the pressure is just becoming too much. Cliff Kingsbury normally has good starts to seasons, but this year he got embarrassed in the opener. Patrick Mahomes has thrown almost 91% of his career interceptions when the defense does not blitz. Last year he notably had a down year with opponents sitting back in the secondary, but out of pure stupidity, the Cardinals decide to blitz him over 50% of the time. Kingsbury has always been more offensive-sided, but he's still the head coach. And let this madness continue throughout the game. More importantly than one bad game, though, is being able to finish strong. And Kingsbury has this incredible bad stat when it comes to finishing seasons, even going back to his Texas Tech days with Patrick Mahomes. In 2013, he lost 5 of his last 6 games. In 2014, he lost 4 of his last 6. 2015, another 4 losses in the 6 final games. 2016, he lost 6 of his final 8 games. 2017, same thing. 2018, he lost his last 5 games. Then with the Cardinals in 2019, he lost 7 of the final 9. 2020, lost 5 of 7. And last year, he lost the final 5 of 6. So if history tells us anything, it's that we should be expecting another disappointing end to the Cardinals season. And one more disappointment could very well cost Kingsbury his job. It's tough to fire a guy who overall has improved your program from when he took over, but sometimes hitting the reset button is just necessary. I don't think he'll get fired mid-season, but his job security is going to be hanging on by a thread if week 1 is any indication of what we'll see this year. I feel like Robert Saleh is capable of building a strong culture, and he's probably the most likable guy on this list. He's also still only in his 2nd year as a head coach, so you'd think his leash should be a bit longer as well. I almost feel bad putting him here, but results are the most important thing for a head coach. So with that being said, the Jets roster has been steadily improving with young talents, and the pressure continues to mount for Saleh to get some results. The reality is you can't have too many 4-13 seasons, or you're gonna get fired real fast. We can give just about every first-year head coach a mulligan outside a train wreck like Urban Meyer. Saleh seems to be well aware of the pressure he faces, with him just recently saying this is not the same old Jets, but until we win, until we prove it, the shots will keep on coming. Right now, the Jets have yet to prove anything after getting blown out by the Ravens. And by the way, those same old Jets have the league's longest playoff drought. Now to end this, I hope you enjoy my little skit on Nathaniel Hackett. Hey Coach Hackett, you are aware that I wanted a trade because I wasn't getting the ball enough, right? Hold on, timeout, Russ. We made a decision before the game on Brandon's 64-yard range. Did you really have to use that word? What word? Timeout? Yes, that one. You do realize I'm supposed to be MVP of September every year, right? Well, we're part of the Denver Broncos now, and the kickers can normally kick them real far with that mile-high air. You know, we played this game in Seattle. Hey, good game, guys. Oh, Gino, let Russ cook? More like let Russ look at his kicker miss, am I right? Broncos country, let's cry.